All right. Well, speaking of housing, let's talk about beautiful suburbia. And and what Donald Trump recently said, which I honestly think might have been his most dog whistle of dog whistles in so far his history of being a politician. I don't know if you guys agree.
It was almost more of a regular whistle.
It was pretty, yeah, it was pretty upfront. And I think might be the most racist thing he said because it was, yeah, I mean, maybe that or
it was pretty old school too. It was like,
yeah,
we're talking about redlining basically.
Yeah. But I mean, usually those politicians have more of an art to talking about it. For example, he could have used the word redlining,
Right.
He doesn't know that word.
It's a big, beautiful red line. We've talked about the blue line, but we're bringing back the red.
And he would whip out a marker and actually draw a visual red line to show everybody, because that's what he would probably think. But yeah, do we have a clip of that, I think, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's not going to happen. And by the way, I just ended the rule on suburbs. You know, the suburbs, people fight all of their lives to get into the suburbs and have a beautiful home. There will be no more low-income housing forced into the suburbs. I abandoned and took away and just rescinded the rule. It's been going on for years. I've seen conflict for years. It's been hell for suburbia. We rescinded the rule 3 days ago. So enjoy your life, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your life.
Oof. Oh, my God. I mean, like, well, we all know, of course, the suburban rule. That's like, obviously, we know exactly what he's talking about when he mentioned it on top. But I mean, honestly, a lot of problems with this country, especially when it comes to race issues and social justice issues, I mean, stem from the fact that quite the opposite, that, you know, these housing issues keep wealthy, even well-to-do, not necessarily wealthy, well-to-do white people cloistered and away from, you know, Black people, Latino people, and other marginalized and minority groups. Yeah. I mean, it's quite frankly disgusting what he said. You couldn't get, well, you could get more racist. He could have dropped the N-word. But besides doing that, you really can't get more racist.
Yeah. And to make it even more depressing, I'm pretty sure the Obama era regulation rule, it's a rule, right, that he rescinded, was pretty milquetoast to begin with in terms of how it dealt with housing segregation. Of course. Right. Like it required, it was an addition to the 1968 Fair Housing Act. They required cities and towns receiving federal funding to document and develop plans to redress racial housing segregation. Now, does that sound terribly radical to you guys?
I don't know. It sounds pretty radical to me. No. I've worked really hard to build up this beautiful suburban lifestyle, and now this public housing is taking it all away. I mean, it's, you know, Queens is a weird place because, oh my God, here we are talking New York again. I feel bad for people who live literally anywhere else who listen to this show. But, you know, there's parts of Queens in New York and parts of Brooklyn as well, and Staten Island and the Bronx that are fairly suburban, actually. And, you know, you could see these problems in even New York City. Just to really carve out that this isn't some sort of issue that only, like, I don't want people to go around thinking like, yeah, that in middle America, some Ohio suburb or whatever, Iowa, you know, this is happening. No, I mean, I've seen this. There's been protests in parts of Queens when they decided to house some homeless people in a hotel. And there was another protest when there was a plan to house some low-level Rikers prisoners in a hotel during the pandemic, like right now. Like it's ridiculous what you see.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah.
You know, New York turns into America pretty quickly once you get far enough into the outer boroughs. I was at the beach the other day and saw one of those signs that they hang off of airplanes. What do you call those things? Like a banner just flying back and forth. It said, Rockaway and Breezy Point support the NYPD.
Oh yeah. I heard a huge pro or anti-Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter rant on the way to Fire Island, like a few summers ago. Yeah, it's horrible.
Well, that's Long Island, and when you go to Long Island, bless the leftists down in Long Island. I'll tell you
and
that
that's
much.
literally what Trump's talking to in that clip is Long Island,
right?
Westchester, because that's as far as he sees into suburbia from his Jamaica.
What we got to do though is not the attack by racializing, which is the old GOP playbook, but the attack by racializing public housing at a moment in history where we're going to need to invest in that massively for people, or state to take over. We've got, to speak to the dystopia you're talking about earlier, Matt. All this real estate, it's either going to be under Democratic control or control of the banks. We have two choices there, and if it's under control of banks, it is going to be total. I don't know, man. It's horrible.
Yeah,
it's almost like we need a mass working class movement to take back the things that have been stolen from us. I don't know. Just spitballing ideas here.
Right. Well, speaking of President Donald, go ahead. I was going to segue, but go ahead. Get in your last point, Brendan.
But to your point that these grievances are born out of the fact that we've loaded all of our value and assets into homes. Like, these people are upset because there's low income housing being built near their homes, or there are homeless people in a hotel near their house, which devalues their home and makes their worth less. So if we devalue housing, we can address those problems.
And actually, these are the people that both parties are fighting over right now.
That's right. I was going to say, a lot of this fight is going to run through the suburbs, right? Because only the the high bourgeoisie, that's not enough people to vote. But guess what? The petty bourgeoisie, right? The upper middle classes, the PMCs, whatever you want to call them in the suburbs, they vote. And they also donate money to political campaigns. So we got what Thomas Piketty called the merchant left and the Brahmin right? They're both rich. And Trump's trying to make an appeal to these people's racism. But honestly, I don't know how well it's going to work, because suburban racists are already comfortable with Joe Biden, right? He was chosen by Obama in large part to make those people happy.
Right.
But these are also people who don't want to think of themselves as racist. So I feel like Biden is probably a good, safe choice for the racist who doesn't want to be racist, and Trump might take it a bit over the line for them. I don't know.
Right. No, that's a great point. And, speaking of Trump,
can I make one more point on that?
Killing my segue here. Oh boy. All right,
I'm sorry. The one thing that suburban racists, I think, the generic type that vote Republican care about more than their, racist agenda, I think, is being able to turn on the TV and it to be nice and not scary, and not for them to feel constantly under threatened because they're in power. I think that's, they're going to be so depressed. And we got Trump got his chance. If I'm a guy who was between Trump and Biden and I voted for Trump last time, Trump had his chance, and I want things to cool down, and I want Thanksgiving to be a little bit nicer.
That's absolutely. I mean, you get your little bit of racism, and you get your normalcy too, because that's what a lot of these suburban types want. They don't want anything. I mean, that's their problem with the Black Lives Matter protests that are coming into the more suburban parts of the country. They don't want, this is not what's normal here. We want things to be regular, how they were, hunky dory for us. So when they see that, and that's sort of what they probably are connecting with Trump. Like you said.